And welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. David Shuster here, along with Daniel Marins and Mitch Molaski. So glad to have you with us. We are talking in this particular segment about some amazing news out of the state of Michigan this past week. Michigan, which is, of course, the place where I'd say the home of unions and auto workers. The Michigan legislature, led by Republicans, passed right-to-work legislation, which is essentially union busting. And here to sort of help us understand that and explain why and what everybody can do about it if they're upset is Brandon Dillon. He's a Democrat who represents the 75th District of Michigan, including Grand Rapids. And oh, by the way, this interview is airing in Grand Rapids Monday afternoon at 3 on Public Reality Radio. Brandon, thanks for being part of the program today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So explain what was it that the Michigan legislature did and why is it so significant?
Well, there's a couple reasons it's significant. Just a little history. The governor, who was elected in 2010, Rick Snyder, has been asked about whether he wanted to see a right-to-work bill passed in Michigan for the last 2 years, and he consistently avoided the question by saying it wasn't on his agenda, and at one time even criticizing governors like Scott Walker and John Kasich for pursuing legislation that he thought was extreme. Fast forward to after this last election, the governor reversed course at the 11th hour, announced last week, one day before we took the vote, that the right to work was now on his agenda, and within 6 hours on Thursday, December 6th, the bill had been introduced and voted on by both houses of the legislature without any committee hearings, any public debate. No,
and by right to work, we're talking about essentially, if by right to work, if we use the analogy, say for AAA, it would mean that instead of some of us just say paying for AAA, that people get AAA whether they pay for it or not. In other words, they get it for free, and it has the effect of causing people, well, wait a second, if I don't have to pay for this, then why should I continue to pay? Which is essentially then what happens with people with union dues, and that you provide that to everybody, and it essentially chokes off the union. Do I have that about right?
Absolutely. This is not about anything other than union busting. The governor actually had an editorial in the paper today saying that he felt that this legislation was quote-unquote pro-worker, and the language around this has been really Orwellian. This is nothing more than freedom to freeload. It allows people to take advantage of what other people do. The example I used on the House floor is I should be able to walk into any country club or golf club or private gym and be able to access the amenities there without having to pay it. The same logic. We wouldn't allow a government to operate like this. If I don't agree with the decisions of a governor or a state legislature, it doesn't give me the ability not to pay taxes and still enjoy all the services that everybody else does.
Yeah, because under that example, then the country club would go bankrupt because then nobody would pay, and then the country club ceases to exist, and it's the same issue with unions. So what is it that people who support unions, who support the fact that had it not been for unions, we wouldn't have our weekends, we wouldn't have minimum wages, we wouldn't have laws that say you cannot force children to work? I mean, what do people do who support unions who are outraged by this?
Well, there's a lot of things we can do, and what I've said to people, there was 14,000 people came to the Capitol on Tuesday, the day we actually had to put the Republicans put the final stamp of approval on this. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of what's going to be a long and protracted fight over the direction of the middle class in the state of Michigan. This isn't just about unions. This is a direct assault on union workers and non-union workers who have now been set up with a system where right to work, if it goes anyway like it does in other states, wages are going to be lowered for average families. And there's going to be efforts in the legislature, but primarily what we're going to have to do is energize people. There'll probably be a ballot initiative either in 2013 or 2014 to overturn this law. And one of the reasons they did this so fast and lame duck, David, is they knew they didn't have the votes next session, and they know that the more the public in Michigan knows about right to work or right to freeload, the less they like it. When you first hear about it, it sounds great. We get freedom to choose whether or not to join the union. When you find out that the union still has to represent you and you get to freeload, people's opinions of it change dramatically.
We're talking with Brandon Dillon. He's a Democrat who represents the 75th Michigan District in the Michigan legislature. It encompasses Grand Rapids. Brandon, it's a western Michigan, not a particularly heavy union area where you are, right?
No, in fact, Kent County, where Grand Rapids is, I'm the only Democrat currently. We're able to get another Democrat elected over here in November, which is good. But this is the home of the right-to-work movement in Michigan. The DeVos family, Dick DeVos, who ran for governor and lost handily in 2006, along with people like the Koch brothers and others, have been working on this for the last 4 to 6 years. Mr. DeVos's wife at one point, who's the brother of Eric, or the sister of Eric Prince, was chair of the Michigan Republican Party, and issued a press release about 6 years ago and said that the biggest problem with Michigan's economy is high wages. So this has been a coordinated effort coming right out of Grand Rapids and Kent County, and but when you talk to average people here, they don't buy into this. They understand that this is just a way for corporations to break unions and make more profits at the expense of middle-class families' wages and benefits.
Yeah, we refer to some of these efforts as astroturf campaigns, that when you have corporate money that essentially flows into creating what looks like it may be some sort of grassroots effort, in this case to try to get the right-to-work legislation, we call it astroturfing. And I gather that that's what's happening here, that this is corporate money which is fueling this effort.
Yeah, the only grassroots efforts here, or the attempt to look like a grassroots effort, is Americans for Prosperity, and everybody knows where they're funded from. Mm-hmm. These groups really represent a handful of billionaires and a few other people who get paid by them to spread misinformation. And that's unfortunately what's happened in Michigan. They spent $2 million in ads in the last week promoting this idea that right to work was good for workers, because they know that if the facts come out, people are repelled by this kind of union busting, especially in Michigan. So I'm confident that actually over the next 2 years, the more people realize that this is a law that's been foisted upon us by people like Dick DeVos, and that the governor in Michigan didn't have the backbone to stand up to him, that it's going to hurt the governor's reelection chances, and it's going to energize people to get out and make their voices heard at the ballot box in 2014 so we can overturn this.
Brandon, other than possibly getting out to vote and doing it that way, what happens in the next 2 years between then? Where do you see this going?
Well, there'll be a lot of court challenges. In fact, because of one of the ironies of them pushing this through so fast is they apparently, when they took the language from ALEC, they forgot that there were some circumstances unique to Michigan. So right now, the consensus is that all state employees are probably exempt from this because the Civil Service Commission has precedent in the Constitution. So there'll be a court challenge over that. There'll be a court challenge over equal protection, I'm sure, because police officers and firefighters were carved out for some reason. And there'll be a lot of efforts to make sure that, that this is litigated, I would assume. But in the meantime, I think the most important thing for people to do is to understand that this is going to be a long, hard-fought battle, and people need to be ready to do what it takes to organize, to reorganize, to re-energize, and be ready for 2014 or maybe even sooner.
Michigan State Representative Brandon Dillon, Democrat representing Grand Rapids. Brandon, thanks so much for being part of the program. We appreciate it.
David, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, too.
You're very welcome. Coming up, we'll talk social media with Alan Rosenblatt. And folks, by the way, if you ever missed any part of the show, you can catch our clips on our YouTube channel, Take Action News TV. You can also sign up for our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, and, of course, TakeActionNews.com. You're listening and watching to Take Action News. We continue with social media at the top of the hour with Alan Rosenblatt. The show continues after this.